Good morning, evening, afternoon. I'm tatocat and welcome to my channel. Today we're playing Echoes, the Lucid9 Fangame. Previously, we just heard the mayor's speech that made all the people go, our holy mayor of awesomeness. And we didn't get to see him because I assume he's going through that whole I'm dying thing. And, yeah, that's where we left off. However, going through this, now that nobody's like on the screen or anything, but, this over here, this little guy is quite distracting. I didn't notice it before, and now I can't unsee it, and I want it to be on everything. So, yeah, now that I got that away, let's continue. As the transmission fades away, the zealous cheers of the nearby onlookers are replaced by scattered murmurs fading into silence as those standing on the asphalt return to their daily duties. I turn to Agent Hirga, still kneeling with devotion before a dark and silent screen. These people have no idea what's coming for them, do they? And do you think they should, Operative? I'm just worried that it's going to come as a shock to them. Symptoms and transmission are one thing. Living in fear is another. If the wrong people got a hold of that fear, it could do a lot of damage. I concur, Operative, which is why I would thank you to make haste. The warden, oh, sorry, Irie. The warden knows the city better than anyone else, and I would rather you request for an alliance, not be spurned. Lots of dots. What is that exactly? As we approach the heart of District 5, I notice Hisao looking up at something. Surrounded by an 8-lane circular road to redirect traffic, the densely packed clump of skyscrapers in front of us is tall enough to warrant the use of a skybridge network. Not only that, but the buildings are linked to one another at multiple altitudes. At the center of it all is Limniscate's headquarters, its logo fluorescing like a kilometer-high second sun. But that's something everyone in the inner district is used to seeing. It's hard to say the same, however, about the translucent bubble of shimmering purple-tinted air that currently has it surrounded. It looks like air, at least. Maybe the support mechanisms are invisible. The region in front of you is known as Facility Complex 0. Ah, fancy. Facility Complex 0. Hopefully she will tell me more and not just be like, that is none of your business. You are not a part of Limniscate's gate. As its fortifications may imply, Limniscate utilizes this partition of District 2 to District 5. That's your district. District 5. To shelter high-priority infrastructure such as our headquarters and central data servers. And that layer is some kind of magnetic field. I'm sure she's going to point out the scientific inaccuracies of a magnetic field or something. She is a nerd, unless that changed in her too. Don't be ridiculous. It's nanomechanical barrier that uses electrostatic forces to maintain its shape and disperse the energy of oncoming projectiles. We don't live in the Star Voyage universe. If you cared enough to educate yourself on the principles of the electromagnetism, you know that the inverse square law would hinder large-scale magnetic deflection impossible. Yeah, Hisao, don't you know about the inverse square law? Kindergartners know about that, sir. Even if we had the energy to emit such a field, it would either be completely useless or level half of this district as soon as it was activated. What about lasers? Couldn't light-based weapons easily penetrate a transparent shield? One would imagine, but no. Our engineers developed this barrier to be capable of rapid condensation and EM wave negation if hostile forces were ever detected in District 5. At the moment, the apparent transparency of the nanites is due to the fact that every layer is oscillating on a plane in phase with the others. In addition, they're no more than a nanometer apart from one another at their furthest, which disperses most low frequencies of light when destructive interference is induced. That alone, with the semi-reflective nature of nanoparticles, creates the characteristic blue-violet hue of the shield. If the nanoparticles detected high levels of incident radiation, however, they would automatically form a multi-phase compact structure with less than an angstrom of free space between them, effectively nullifying any energy-based weapons that made contact. Try to avoid sticking your hand through, though. Armored or not otherwise, the orbit vectors are strong enough to rip any part of your body to shreds within seconds. Good to know. I love how this game answers the sciencey questions, because sometimes I'm like, well, how does that work? And then it's never explained, but this game's like, how does that work? And then somebody explains it to me. There's really no holes there. As we approach the base of the shield, Agent Hirga stops and gestures towards a security checkpoint. The closest access elevator is just ahead of us. You're not Limney's gate personnel. Therefore, the guards will need to verify your identities if you'd like to pass through this checkpoint alive. Follow me and remain silent. Having another corporation's spies here is already enough of an annoyance. If you say anything that doesn't end with sir or ma'am to a Limney set guard, they're almost certain to make this exchange far more complicated than it needs to be. What a welcoming group of people. You know, I mean, I was called an outsider a lot by, the Black Star and stuff, but which I didn't know at the time because I didn't know what it meant, but then I googled it and found out. Yeah. It's not as bad as this. Do not initiate conversation and follow all directives given to you. Understood. This is your district, agent, not ours. Well, Follow your instructions. I mean, it was kind of like, don't mess with them or they'll punch you in the face. But it wasn't like, if you don't say, sir, ma'am, you get a bullet in your head. Or I'm pretty sure it's probably worse. They'll probably like shoot some sort of lasers that scramble my DNA and I melt into a puddle of goo. And no one wants to be a puddle of goo. Agent Hirga nods in affirmation and turns to face the nearby guard. Good morning, Agent. We received a memo? A memo? Was it like a fancy memo or was it like a sticky note? We received a memo that you'd be escorting two way forward operatives in the facility complex. In two, even. Correct. All right. You two. Yes, that be us. One of Limnisec guards turns to me, jerking his head impatiently at the scanner. Okay. It's the first time we're here. No need to be a douche. Step into the scanner. Yes, sir. Isao and I both attempt to do so, but the guard blocks our path. One at a time, you uncultured swine, I feel like is what was in between the lines there. His voice practically oozed with disdain and prejudice. Hisao looks a bit stunned. Why are you stunned, Hisao? This should not... Anytime we're in a district that's not ours, we should just assume that they hate us. Looks a bit stunned, but takes a step back in response, allowing me to go through first. Seems a bit petty of them to get angry at us for not correctly interpreting their purposely vague instructions. But what do I know? I'm just a guest here. No, that sounds familiar. Huh? I guess they probably all sound the same, right? The little scanny things. The design looks familiar. Sounds familiar as well. Almost exactly like the imaging tech we have back in 2. Limniscape must have used our blueprints to reverse engineer the design. This time with their logo and giant patent pending label on it. If we didn't do the same thing with them, with their designs, I'd be as mad as hell. But it's so unsurprising at this point that it's almost peak comedy. Almost as unsurprising as big R&D departments forcing qualified professionals into 10-year contracts with hundreds hour work weeks and zero paid overtime. Because everything constantly needs to become better. Otherwise, the consumer will stop consuming, right? Even though they're so desperate to in the first place that they'll just buy the same shit over and over again if it's shiny enough. It's hard to believe that this is what passes for logic in the boardroom. It's even harder to believe that this is what passes for an excuse to lose money and productivity while formally motivated employees are dying of exhaustion. When people who grease the wheels of this failing machine finally speak up, it's always, you can leave. They're not holding you at gunpoint. Are they though? Because I'm pretty sure Way 4 is allowed to kill you. It's like government sanctioned murder, if you leave. Even though whenever someone's tried that, they were banished from their field, lost every hope of paying off their debts and loans, stopped being able to afford food, medicine for themselves and their family, and were most likely evicted from their low-income residence that still cost 100 times more than their annual salary. You know, really, how did we get to this point? We were just trying to step through a scanner. Because, like, does this stuff always go through her head, like, at all times? Like, while she's just sitting here getting getting scanned for stuff. You know what? All this stuff. Because, fuck building more houses, let's just create artificial scarcity. Fuck building bigger universities. Who wants to educate a majority of the population in a society where people with associate's degrees are working minimum wage? Let's just create artificial scarcity and stuff. I can't read that part. Modern economics is like the CEO with. Modern economics is like the CEO with suspenders who snorts coke on his desk. He's going to have some big ideas and get stuff done really fucking quickly, but nobody talks about how the heart that keeps him alive is doing 18,000 RPM on a fraction of his usual oxygen. Back when the system worked, it created a couple of generations who... Is this one of her things where she's like, having children is bad? I'll never have children because it's bad? Things. Back when the system worked, it created a couple of generations who believed that hard work produced results and that it was easy to find a job you loved and wanted to do. The rich told their kids that they could have the next big idea, and the market was so free and endless that they could work their way up in the world if they just pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. The poor taught their kids how to survive when nobody was shooting at them. The only thing they had in common was that they were both ripe to be taken advantage of. The people who got lucky pitching ideas made a fortune and considered themselves above others. Well, that's douchey of them. Then those people formed a plutocratic oligarchy to keep the market as free as it could be and under their absolute control. The rest were forced to make minimum wage out of necessity, or God forbid, if they still had dreams of self-actualization through the acquisition of better life, they either failed miserably or voluntarily allowed themselves to be turned into cash cows. This is why I never want to have children. I knew it! Everyone who brings life into this world considers it a gift, but never how much it costs to survive in this day and age. Everyone's either too complacent to change the world or incapable of allocating enough resources. The only reason any of us are alive is that we're either too afraid or too angry to die. So until this world gets its head out of its ass, I intend to maintain a healthy mixture of both. All this while she was getting scanned. Oh dear. As the scanner chamber powers down around me, a 3D projection of my body appears on screen, alongside a green check mark and the message IFF code valid. Looks like my armor blocked the scan before it could expose anything compromising. And the guard in front of me looks mildly displeased, like the fucker was looking for an excuse to make my life a little more difficult. I mean, he was. Irie basically said that would happen. And I can't imagine them just walking around this armor all the time. It's basically like a mini robot, and you're just kind of moving around in it. It seems cumbersome and uncomfortable. Hisao experiences the same outcomes as me. Something that only redoubles the guards' grumbling. Oh, how dare we inconvenience him by not inconveniencing him. Oh, we're such jerks. Oh, right, you two are clear. Welcome to FCO and keep your weapon holstered way forward. If you so much as lay a finger on your guns while you're inside the complex, our security grid stands ready to incinerate you without hesitation. Good to know, thank you, sir. I assume, sir? What a fun bunch. Forget Okinawa. I should take my next vacation here. Nothing's stopping you. Except for maybe the giant purple bug zapper. Or the drones. Or the entire corporation that might not be thrilled with the idea of you poking around in here. Other than that, absolutely nothing. Quiet, both of you. Well, excuse you, princess. I've received a message from the warden. It would appear that I underestimate the capacity of their patients. You've been given 15 minutes of spare time and the privilege of roaming free through the facility Complex 0 until otherwise specified. That, and it may have rushed you more than was necessary. Agent Hirka pauses as if to bring herself to say something, but remains silent. Oh, what is she thinking? I can never tell when she's in a magnanimous frame of mind. It makes dealing with her in person quite unpredictable. Regardless, whenever you're ready or when the request maximum time has elapsed, you're to meet me at the north entrance of our headquarters building. Guests of the warden are unlikely to be troubled here, but kindly comply with any directives you're given. What if they're like really crappy directives that we just don't want to do? Like, what if somebody's like, lick our boots, and we're just like, fuck no. Are we supposed to comply with that? I'd rather not be assigned to scrape your scorched remains off the pavement. Oh, so I see you were worried about us. Continue, I guess. Oh, thingy. Between missions, you may choose to visit District 5 if your reputation with Limnisgate Corporation is neutral or higher, which functions as their open-world action hub. Like those in District 2 and 3, many features of the hub world are missing or incomplete, but new equipment can be purchased from Limnisgate by visiting their quartermaster in the Limnisec Army, Murray. District 5 Facility, Complex 0, controlled by Limnisgate. Okay. It is Saturday, April 27, 2041. It's 13:17 hours. I'm deployed, and my reputation with Limnisgate is neutral. Okay, cool. Cool, we're neutral. They don't hate us, but they don't like us either. I guess we'll go to the armory and see what type of stuff's in there. Zoom in. As I follow the glow of the holographic road signs suspended in the hazy purple air, I'm led down a flight of metal stairs to the base of a tall monolithic. I don't know why every time I see monolithic, my brain suddenly can't say monolithic. And distinctly blocks the building. A distinctly blocky building. Hundreds of meters above me, crates levitate on the thrust of pulse engines, moving carefully as they load cargo directly into windows cut in the sides of the Titanic edifice. Beneath a heavy array of wall-mounted missile launchers, fighter bays, and gun emplacements, I catch the light of a glowing white sign through the fog of atmospheric coolant. The text on it confirms that this is indeed the Limnisec armory I was looking for. Stop in the name of love. Couldn't help it. Just had to say it. A guard, when a mini and corded along the blast doors of the base of the armory, puts out his hand, directing me to go no further. Immediately I just get this image of this robot guy, and I don't know why, but he has a pointy hat now, and he's like, "You shall not pass." The guard raises 2 fingers to the side of his helmet. Affirmative. Just arrived. Understood. He lowers his hand and turns to me. Agent Hirga has granted you and your squad access to this armory. Squad? There's one other person. If your work requires the use of any of our corporation's copyrighted firearms, equipment, or ammunition, Limniscape Security requisitions officers at this facility have been authorized to distribute them to you for individual use. Cool. Thanks. There's more. As every Limniscape Security firearm requires a separate non-transferable license key to assemble, disassemble, and fire, you will be charged an authentication fee to register and track your firearm in the event it is lost or misused. If you wish to license it for use by any other authorized parties, you will be charged further. In the event that any party licensed for a Limniscape Security product violates Limniscape Security's EULA in terms of service use, Limniscape Security reserves the right to render the product inoperable, repurpose it, and revoke access to all relevant distribution platforms at any time. Under the Limniscape Corporation's terms of individual license distribution, its products remain the sole property of the Limniscape Corporation before and after their sale to the license holder. The license holder will be charged additionally if the product is damaged or lost. Attempting to utilize any third-party ammunition, power cells, or expendable loaded resources and Limniscape Security product is prohibited and constitutes a violation of Limniscape Security's EULA in terms of service use. Oh my goodness! This is a terms of service use. This is terms of service. This is just another one. And this is an end user's license agreement and a terms of service use. Nobody wants to hear or listen to it. That was redundant. Nobody wants to listen to it, and nobody wants to read it, and then you just click the thing, and then you just agree to whatever, and that's how you lose your soul. Oh my, there's more. Okay. That's what that was. My goodness. I just wanted to check out, see if they had any new cool weapons for me to use. I didn't realize there was a whole, there should be a thing, yeah, but man. After neither understanding nor consenting to those terms, I decided to thank the guard, back away from the armory, and sit down at the nearby bench in order to think things over. As you should. My word, that was... I just wanted to see what was there. Well, we'll see if we actually get to look at some Nimni skate guns. At this point, I don't know if I want to. In the next episode,